Imagine a fundamental right, one that defines citizenship and self-governance, yet for generations, it was systematically denied to an entire population. How did America eventually bridge that vast gap between a constitutional promise and its lived reality? While the 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, declared that the right to vote could not be denied based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude, its actual enforcement was largely delayed for nearly a century. The primary and most effective mechanism that ultimately helped enforce it was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, coupled with decades of tireless civil rights activism and crucial court decisions. The core reason for this delayed enforcement lies in the original amendment structure. It provided a powerful declaration but lacked the specific statutory teeth needed to counteract inventive and pervasive state-level disenfranchisement tactics. Southern states, for example, quickly devised mechanisms like poll taxes, literacy tests, grandfather clauses, and outright intimidation to prevent Black citizens from exercising their newly granted right. These practices were designed to appear race-neutral on the surface, but were applied discriminatorily, effectively nullifying the amendment's intent. To truly enforce the 15th Amendment, a comprehensive federal legislative response was required. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 directly addressed these state-sponsored barriers. It outlawed literacy tests and similar devices, and crucially, it established federal oversight in areas with a history of voter discrimination. This meant that certain jurisdictions had to obtain federal approval, known as preclearance, before implementing any changes to their voting laws. This measure was a game changer, stopping discriminatory practices before they could even begin. Beyond the Voting Rights Act, the active participation of federal registrars and observers in elections in targeted areas helped ensure fair registration and voting processes. Significant Supreme Court cases, such as Smith v. Allwright in 1944, which outlawed the white primary, and Gamalion v. Lightfoot in 1960, which challenged racial gerrymandering, also chipped away at discriminatory practices. These legal victories, born from the persistent efforts of civil rights organizations and individuals, laid essential groundwork for the federal government to more aggressively protect voting rights. The sustained pressure from the civil rights movement, including marches, protests, and voter registration drives, also played an indispensable role. These actions raised national awareness, built political will, and ultimately compelled Congress to pass the robust legislation necessary to make the 15th Amendment's promise a reality. Without this popular movement, the legislative mechanisms might never have come to fruition. So, the mechanisms that ultimately enforced the 15th Amendment were not a single act but a powerful combination of legislative action, landmark judicial decisions, and persistent grassroots activism. This collective effort transformed a long-unfulfilled constitutional promise into tangible voting rights for millions of Black Americans, fundamentally reshaping American democracy and ensuring broader participation in our electoral process.